Hello and welcome to Faithfully Stampin' with Jennifer Helm. I am Jennifer Helm, the Faithful Stamper, independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up! And today I'm going to teach you this corner pop-up gift card holder. This is a very unique design. It is a 4x4 square that when you open it up, the gift card holder actually stands up straight, kind of like a little diorama, and there is a pocket here with a little card for you to write a message on, and then you can tuck a gift card in the pocket as well. So let's go ahead and get started. This actually is not a complicated design. There is no cutting once you cut this initial 8x8 square piece of cardstock. You do need a scoring tool or a scoreboard just for a few simple scores. I like my paper trimmer. It cuts and scores. And so this is 8 inches square. This is Highland Heather. And I am going to score at 4 inches. Then I'm going to turn and score again at 4 inches. So I've divided the cardstock into 4 quadrants. Then I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to score diagonally. And I do that by lining up the corners of my square on the cutting track. And then once I have it lined up, one more quick score. And that is all the scoring I need to do to make this gift card holder. So I am going to fold and burnish my score lines with my bone folder. And I do the cross score lines first. Now, I start with this bottom diagonal score line because this is going to form my pocket. And this is why I flipped the paper over before I scored on the diagonal. And I fold on this score line and bend it in, and this creates my gift card pocket. And then for this top score line, you're going to fold it down and in, and then I just give the whole thing a little burnish. So when you are assembling your gift card holder, and you've got all your score lines burnished, you want your 2 solid squares, top left, bottom right, and then your score line, your diagonal score line running from your bottom left to the top right. And I find it easiest to do most of your gluing or decorating before you glue your pockets and kind of create the whole card. So you will need a few different panels of designer series paper. I like to vary my design. So I have 2 different designs. These are 3 3/4 inch squares. I'm going to place one here at the top left corner. And this one is going to form the backdrop for my pocket. Now, if you want to save yourself one square, instead of doing a whole piece like I'm doing, you can actually cut this one diagonally and then attach the top corner at the top of the pocket and the lower half on the actual pocket. I've just decided to use 2 separate pieces, so I have an additional square that's going to form the cover for my pocket. So I have some Stampin' Seal Plus. This is my favorite adhesive because a little goes a long way, and this is great for 3D projects. So I'm going to glue this to the bottom square. And then I'm going to put some adhesive on the second piece and glue this one up here. Now the next thing I like to do, before I forget, because I always forget, when you close it, this is your pocket, so this is where you want to put your triangle piece. and I always forget to glue it down before I glue the pocket. And then trying to fit it in this corner where there's a little bit of a shadow, it's really difficult to see. So I am just going to take some adhesive. You want to mind your corners on this piece because you want your corners to stick. So if you get a little adhesive that comes off the edge, you want to tuck that behind. But it is much easier if you place your corner piece here before you glue your pocket down. Trust me. This is the first time I've actually remembered to do that while assembling one of these. And it's much easier to do it now. Next, before we glue our pocket closed, we are going to make a cover for our hinge piece that helps our panel close. And I have a piece of cardstock that is 3 3/4 inches square, same size as my Designer Series paper squares. But I have to be careful where I put the tape because I don't want to tape the whole thing down or I won't have the pivot in the panel that I need. So I'm going to put tear and tape here along the seam and along the side and the top, but I want to make sure I leave a border. And so what I find best is I take my cardstock square and flip it over, and I'm going to put a piece of tear and tape not too close to the top because I do have that little border. And I'm not going to run it all the way to the end because I don't want it to get hung up here past the fold. And now I'm just going to put some tape here along this fold, not all the way to the top. I'm going to pull that back a little. And then again on the side, leaving that border. And I'm using a clear block to help me tear the tape cleanly. It's a trick I learned last weekend, and it's my favorite new trick. Having clean edges makes it so much easier working with a project. So now that I've got the backing off my tape there, I'll resituate my card. And this piece with the tape along the top, I'm just going to glue that in place. And you can see when I fold the card shut, it gives me that little pivot that I need. Now I could take another piece of Designer Series paper here, but part of this beautiful Hydrangea Hill suite, we have this mercury glass acetate designer, well, it's not Designer Series paper, but it's beautiful acetate with that mercury glass look. And so I decided that I needed to break it out and use it. And I would never have guessed it if I didn't hear another consultant talking about it, but there is a very thin cellophane layer on the back of this acetate that you want to remove before you glue it down. It's almost impossible to find the edge, but once you do find it, and a piece of tape would help you pull that off the back, you can see how thin this is. Just take that off and toss it. And then what I decided to do to adhere this acetate is to use some glue dots. And I'm just going to put about 4 of them on there, and I'm aiming for the larger silver sections to help me just keep this anchored in place. I'm not sure that's the best way to adhere the acetate. I just didn't think running a tape runner all over it would be the best course of action. So I used glue dots, and I found they do not show through the back of the acetate, so I figured this was a good way to secure it. So there we go. And this, the acetate or your Designer Series paper would be 3 1/2 inch square because your cardstock square is 3 3/4. So you want that just to be a little smaller, so 3 1/2 inch. And as I said, you can use Designer Series paper there as well. So I'm ready to glue down my pocket. And there's 2 steps to that. The first one is to put a very thin layer of tear and tape, or you could use glue if that's your preferred method of adhesive. If you have a 1/4 inch tape, you could definitely use that. You'd want a thin line, or else your gift card and your little message card are not going to fit. So my tape is hanging a little bit over the edge, and that's okay, because what I'm going to do is just fold it in. You could actually, if you're have a little more finesse than I am, you could fold your tape in half once you put it down, so you have that thinner line. And then I'm just going to fold my pocket in here and press that down. And then, since that piece is now anchored, I'm going to take some tape and just put a triangle of the Tear and tape here. And that forms that pocket and the stand-up effect that I'm looking for with this corner pop-up card. And so a few strips more of the Tear and tape, and I will be ready to go. So again, I just need to peel the backing off my Tear and tape, which is not cooperating this evening. There we are. And then I simply need to fold that triangle down and press it. And now I have my stand-up look for the card. So a few more steps and I'll be finished. I have a strip of cardstock that is 2 inches wide by 4 inches tall, and a piece of Designer Series paper that is 1 3/4 inches wide. Should be by 4 inches tall, but I apparently cut this one wrong. That's okay, no problem there. I'm going to layer these two together. And then this is going to form the decoration, part of the decoration for the front of the gift card holder. And it is up to you. You could adhere this flat to the front of the card like I'm doing, or you could pop it with dimensionals. The more dimensionals you use, the thicker this will be. I believe you would definitely need additional postage if you were to try to mail this. And good gracious, I don't know what I was doing when I was cutting these pieces, because obviously I don't want that. So, nothing a pair of scissors won't fix. I'm just going to trim this edge right off. And voila. There we go. We'll pretend I made it that way. Now I just need to do a little bit of stamping. I do have a 3.5 inch square of Gorgeous Grape, which I'm going to layer a stitched square on top of. If you don't have the stitched shapes dies, you can use a 3.25 inch square piece of basic white cardstock. And then you'll also need a 3.5 inch square piece for your little gift card note on the inside. So I just need to do a little bit of stamping. I'm going to bring over my Stampin' Pierce mat, since I'm using photopolymer, and a little scratch paper. I'm using the Hydrangea Haven stamp set. This is a clear photopolymer stamp set, which is why I need that little bit of extra cushion. And I'm not going to fit this whole stamp onto my square, but I want to make sure I get enough coverage that my design is where I want it to be. So I'm going to offset it just a little bit. And I used black Memento ink there. And now I'm going to do a second layer of stamping. This is two-step stamping. I've lined the outside. And now I'm just going to take some Highland Heather ink. And these stamps have a watercolor look to them. And a little color there, and it does not line up perfectly, and that's fine. That's how the watercolor look is. A little Pear Pizzazz ink for the leaves. And this is why I needed my scratch paper. And then my leaves are done. So that is all I'm going to do for the cover. And now I'm going to use the Sentiment with Gratitude from, I believe it's our Itty Bitty Greetings set. And some gorgeous grape. And I'm going to stamp the inside. This is the little message card for the inside of my gift card holder. And I'm just going to accent this a little bit. When you stamp, you want to favor the top right corner because mostly what's going to show is that top right corner and down the side. But I'm going to give it just a little bit more accent. I'm going to add a few of these single flowers to the top and down the side, just to give it a little pizzazz. And then to add a little color to those sweet little flowers, I'm going to come back with that Highland Heather flower stamp and give these just a little color here. And there we have it. So I'm going to layer that front panel, the stitch square, onto the cardstock square. And I'm going to pop this on the front with dimensionals. I could layer it flat if I like, but I'm going to use dimensionals for a little added effect. And I happen to be out of dimensionals on this sheet, but I cut around the outsides. I don't waste an ounce of this awesome dimensional foam. So I highly recommend you do the same. And I want one more little piece in the center. And then I peel the backing off of these. And this gets centered right on that front panel. My message sentiment card gets tucked inside the pocket. If I had a gift card handy, it would go in that pocket as well. And then the last step, I have about 18 inches worth of ribbon. This is our sheer gorgeous grape ribbon. It's beautiful. And I'm just going to tie a quick bow to finish it off. Why I don't tie bows on camera very often. There we go. And I'm actually not going to trim those edges. I think they look okay. You can leave your ribbon centered, or if you like it one way or the other, you can slide it a little bit there. And there you have your pop-up gift card holder. And I wanted to show you just a couple other samples. I did make a Christmas holiday gift card holder. I centered the ribbon on this one, and I let the Designer Series paper do the talking on the front of the gift card holder. I used a smaller stitch circle and a sentiment from Itty Bitty Christmas, and I let the inside do a lot of the talking. I have a punch with peace and happiness here. I die cut from the Designer Series paper, and then added a Christmas tree here. But you don't have to have ribbon to keep the gift card shut holder. If, for example, you're giving a man a gift card holder, they're not usually into ribbon. So this one, I made a nice masculine gift card holder without the ribbon, and then let the Designer Series paper do the talking on the inside. If you need any Designer Series paper or stamp sets, you can visit my website at thefaithfulstamper.stampinup.net. If you do not have a demonstrator you're currently working with and would like a copy of our mini catalog, which runs January to June of 2021, please let me know. I would be happy to send one to you and answer any questions you might have. I would be grateful if you would subscribe to this YouTube channel, Faithfully Stampin' with Jennifer Helm. And you can also follow me on Facebook as The Faithful Stamper. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I hope you enjoyed the gift card holder. Happy crafting!